Another form of creative music is called Kalpanaswara. I like to just simply call it tagging. Everybody knows what tagging is. You tag something. This Kalpanaswara is tagging. We pick a point. Now the difference here in Carnatic music, the point can be anywhere in a rhythmic cycle. So I'm going to take a different composition to give you an example of that. Now the first thing is, all compositions in Carnatic music don't begin on the sum one and don't have that accent point as the sum. What makes it interesting is we call it the yedupu or the pickup point. So the pickup point can be anywhere. Now this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. This is the point. Now, the thing about tagging is I can choose any point I want to tag. Which means I can find something that I never tagged before. I've sung the same composition, sung Kalpanaswaras in 4 different places at 4 different occasions. Because that day I noticed something. Another day I didn't notice something. Now the standard place of singing swara here is 1, 2, 3. Chara is the standard. So let me first sing that and show you. We can do it in 2 speeds, so I will do 2 speeds. Chara Ravade Gari Gama Chara Ravade Nidama Gari Sa Gari Gama Chara Ravade. So che is my point of entry. I just have to keep going back. I can go however I want. And I will start with small taggings and then I'll elongate the tagging, make it more longer and longer, more cycles. So just listen for a while. Ni ni sa ni da ma ga sa ga ni ga ma chara ra va de mi. Sa gani sa ma gani da ma ma ni ni sa ni ga ri sa ni da ma ma ga ri sa chara ra va. Mama mama gari magaga magari sa 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 ni sa sa ga ma sa ma pa ma ni sa ni da ni ma ma ga ga sa So whatever I do, I finally come back and say, sir, I have to tag it. Now, most musicians, especially learners, find this getting back to that point as the greatest panic moment. Agreed? Oh my God, my teachers were like, I have to come there, the line is starting there, let me get there correctly. I will tell you that that's actually the easiest part. The toughest part too is able to sing with flow. Ni ni sa ga sa ni sa ga ri ni sa ga ri ni sa ga ri ni sa ma ga ni sa ni da ni sa ni sa ni ma ga ri ni sa ri ni sa ni da ni da ma ga re ga ma cha ra. The moment you've internalized that composition well, that line completely in your being, that place will fall. What is difficult is for you to constantly keep maneuvering. Keep maneuvering. And then you'll come there. But generally we all get tense. You get tense when it's especially the second speed. Ga ga ma ga ri sa ga ni sa ga ga ma ni ni da ma ni ni sa ga ni sa ni da ni da ma ga ma cha ra ra va de. Gari ga ma pa ma gari ga ma ni da ma gari ga ma sa ni da ma gari ga ma cha ra ra va. Ma ga ga ma ni da ma ni 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 sa ga ga ni sa ma ga ri sa ni da ma cha ra ra va. Ri sa ni da ma ga ma ga ri sa ni da ma ni sa ga ga ma ni da ma ga ma cha ra ra va. Magari sa pa ma gari sa ni da ma pa ma magari sa ni da da ma pa ma ga ri ga ma cha. No, I'm very bad at putting talam, and I take a lot of liberties with that. But actually I don't need to put talam when I sing, because I know ni sa ma ga ri sa ga ri sa ni da sa ni da ma ga ri ga ma cha. I will never miss it. Because the flow will get me back to that point of entry, which you call a point of entry. So when you sing, the second speed is when that's also a time when audience also gets excited. Because we can do this for long rounds. Ma ma ga ga ma ga ga ma ga ga ma ga ga ma sa ga ga ma ga ga ma ga ga pa pa ma ga ma ga ga ma ga ga ma ga ga ma ga ga sa ga ni sa ga ri sa ni sa ga ri sa ga ga ma ga ri sa ma ga ga ma ga ri sa pa pa ga ga ma ga ri sa pa ga ma ga ri sa pa ga ma ga ri sa ni da ma ga ga ri sa ni da ma ga ma ga ri sa ga ga ma ni sa ga ga ma ga ri ga ma ga ri ga ma ga ri ga ma ga ri ga ma ni da ma ga ri ga ma pa pa ma ni ni da ma pa ma ni ni da ni da ma pa ma ga ga ri sa ma ga ri sa ni da ma ga ri sa ni da ma ga ri ga ga ma ni 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 sa ni da ma ni ni sa ni da ma ni ni sa ma ni ni sa ni da ma ni ni sa ma sa ni da ma ni sa ga ri sa ni sa ga ri sa ni sa ga ri ni sa ga ri ni sa ri sa ni ri sa ni ri sa ni sa ri sa ni ni sa ga ri ri sa ni ni sa ma ga ri ri sa ni ni sa ga ga ma ga ri sa ni ni sa ma ga ri sa ni sa ga ri sa ni sa ga ga ma ga ri sa ni sa ma ga ri sa ni sa ni ri sa ni ga ma pa ma ga ri ga ma cha ra ra va. This is the applause moment in a concert. And I can tell you we know it. So, this is fascinating. But the more important aspect that I want to place here is not the excitement of entry, but actually the excitement of moving. The entry is the high point. But there is a lot happening. For example, he's just saying, he's speaking a different point in the same line to sing tagging. So the point he's speaking is Ramaya. So position is Ramaya Ma Gari Sa Ramaya Chara Sagari Gamani Gari Gama Gasa Maya Chara Sagama Sama Gamani Sagama Ramaya Chara. So now I'm using this la as a frame. Then I start playing with that. Sagari gama gari magari sagari gama ni sagari gama sama magari saramaya. So everything will change. The point of entry can be even a tough one, really tough one. For example, Chade buddhi manura, Chade buddhi manura, manasa Chade buddhi. Nisa nisa Chade buddhi manura. Risa nisa da marisa nisa da sada Chade buddhi. Now, this point is actually at the last second of a cycle. So the cycle is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? It's totally 32 after 31. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Chade buddhi. It's like a slap. Pat, right? Chade buddhi. Isn't it? It is, right? Chade buddhi. Parisada, marisani sada, badadani nisa Chade buddhi manu. Padani sadhani sadi, sadi sa, marisa nisada Chade buddhi. Padadani dani nisa nisa sadi sa, mamari nisa nisa dani sa Chade buddhi. So the mood is also different. The ambience is also different. So Kalpanaswara can happen in anywhere. It's basically a tagging. But again, I want to say there's so much we can do. I mean, there's also a lot of arithmetic that is possible that we can do. I'm not even going to that sector today. Any questions at this point that I can take and then move on to a few more ideas? Yes. Okay, take 2 questions. One from you and one from... I'll come to you. Yes.
You were talking about imagination in the beginning of the talk. So I want to go back to that when you are creating within the given structure, there is a given structure, the sangatis that you're talking about. So there is a certain experiential factor there. So every time you're performing, are you personally experiencing something different every time you're performing? And can that be repeated?
I think I answered that.
In the sense that, I mean, how would you be able to kind of capture that experiential moment, if at all?
Okay. You're asking a question which actually does not have an answer, but I will try. The first part to your question, there's always a structure in anything. Anything. And I want to say that every movement that has happened has history. There's nothing that has happened without history. So history itself is a structural being because it's a guiding force, right? So when I'm singing Bhairavi, first of all, the structural element of it is not there in my conscious mind at all. At all. What is there, as again I say, is the sound of Bhairavi. That's what I'll reiterate. It's the sound of Bhairavi. Now, could the creativeness of one day be repeated on the same phrase of the creativeness of the other day, another day? It's possible. No, it's possible. It's possible. It's also not possible. Now, am I going to consciously do something at that moment so it has happened? No. But there is something that I think artists... But is it an accident? No. That too. It's not an accident. So I think there is a process by which an artist can, shall we say, prepare themselves for the hoping that the possibility of that can happen. So from tuning the Tanpura, you're preparing yourself. You know, a friend of mine once told me, and I very fairly, he said, stop this nonsense of opening a screen before a concert. He said, this is not drama that is happening. Why do you all have to hide there and like when, voila, these people arrive, Second, he said something, the process of tuning the Tanpura is also a process of entering something. Right? So actually tune it when everybody is there. Most people are chattering nowadays when you tune the Tanpura. They think, they're getting ready. No, you're also getting ready. So even the tuning the Tanpura is a process of hoping for that possibility. Okay? Am I doing something structurally for that possibility? Thinking of Bhairavi in a certain way? No. Not at all. I am creating the ambience for all of us here. We are creating the ambience for all of us here. So when we, for example, I can tell you sometimes when all the instruments just get tuned, you're like, wow. And you just know it's going to be a lovely evening. You just know it's going to be. It's just that whole coming together. So I think those are the very, very tactile things that we do. Okay? I could have had a huge fight at home and come. But that day something incredible may happen. So this whole question of peace of mind is also something we have to think of a little more complexity. Because somewhere through the disturbance also you could find something. Imagine the traffic in the cities today. Can anybody go to a concert with peace of mind? It's a very practical situation. I drive to a concert. I'm driving through traffic. So what happens? So somehow, I think you're able to find a way to, shall we say, centering, a kind of centering of yourself. That's the only thing you can do. That's the only thing. That's a very big thing. Very big thing. Once it all happens, then it's possible that the same phrase evoked magic. It's possible you stumbled upon something you had never heard before. And then you're saying, wow, let me sing it 3 times. And you keep singing it. There are days in which when you stumble upon something, I'm sure you listen to some recordings, you'll find even me repeating that same phrase again because I'm like, wow, this is so gorgeous. Not because I sang it. Because it's just gorgeous. I mean, thing about being an artist is to be in an acute state of, shall we say, awareness. That's what you're hoping when we are all sinking together. Can we be? And I think the audience is as much investing in it. If you see any of the many art forms that we have in this country, it's a very conversational thing. If you see, there is no, the whole proscenium is of course a different thing. You will have audiences talking, you will have people coming. They're not distracted, by the way. So if you go to a village and see many of these, they're actually, that's part of the whole ambience that is happening. And the art form also is breathing that. So each one has its own, shall we say, inner engine that generates this equanimity that you asked about. You had a question.
The shrutis you use in Carnatic music.
Sorry?
The shrutis are what we say spurs swaras in North Indian music, like Antara Gandharam or Kakali Ghatam. So is there a process of defining it? Is
the
there
22 shruti business you're talking about?
Yes, yes.
Okay, first forget about that and throw it into the dustbin.
Okay.
That's the biggest unnecessary piece of historical musicological data that we have carried on for 2000 years. And I'll explain to you why. I can't give you the technicalities. I'm happy to sit you down and give you the framework. This, to tell you, people love to talk about 22 shrutis in Indian classical music. We have positions for notes. Okay? That is one. And then we say there are 22 possible positions that you can hear in an octave. I won't tell you how this 22 shrutis came. I'll just give you, please just bear with me because it's beautiful. If you read the Natya Shastra, Bharata's Natya Shastra, that's where you get the concept of 22 shrutis. Now, what was Bharata's music? Very simplistically put, the music that he describes as Gandharva, which is then interpreted in theatre and called Gana, is a musical form that has no fixed tonic. Sorry, that has, yes, no fixed tonics, but fixed 7 notes. Understand? No fixed tonic, like we say shruti, or the pitch that a musician sings or plays on in today. What is fixed is 7 notes. So what they did is something spectacular. They created a notional idea of 22. Because they have fixed 7. How do you define the 7? So Bharata did this beautiful experiment with 22 strings. Okay? And he said, I can hear 22 sounds in an octave. The value of the first note is 4. Second is 3. Third is 2. 4, 3, 2, 4, 4, 3, 2 adds up to 22. Now, what was the role of that 4? Were they played? They were not played. They were notional. He's saying in a very abstract way something that's beautiful. He's saying in the sound of the sa is encapsulated the sound of 4, of that 4 positions. Doesn't mean the 4 will be ever rendered. But it means that sound encapsulates the possibility of the 4. Just think of how beautiful it is. Because he has to define the 7. Structurally, he needs it. Right? We have used that in a form that is inverse. Where the tonic is fixed and you have variable notes. It is irrelevant to what we sing today. I can tell you the way we sing means and the gamaks, we have probably 162 shrutis you can find in a computer. How is it even relevant? The whole notion of the swara as being a static body on which we ornament is again a wrong perception. The swara is a moving body in which its static position is one possibility. Get what I'm saying? The swara is a moving body in which its static position is one possibility. It is not a static position on which you ornament movements. No. Ma, 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 ma is one possibility of ma. It is not ma that has been then operated upon like some surgical doctor and says, let's move it this way. No. The moment you think that way, then you see the irrelevance of this 22 Shruti concept. What you see a relevance of is understanding what that body of every note is. Yes, we have certain fixed notes that we have determined, 12 notes or how many of you want to say it is, okay? But that is our reference points. They are not musical points. So I like to grade sound in 3 ways. Frequency, pitch and tone. Frequency is just sound. Pitch is when your auditory system recognizes a position. Tone is when the pitch gets emotion. That's a swara. A pitch is not a swara. A swara is tone. And once you say it has emotion, it has to move. Otherwise, you're not moved. So let's not, this every year I see these legdems on 22 Shrutis and I'm like banging my head and saying, why are we talking about this when it's irrelevant to us? Because we love to say we are 2000 years old. Fundamentally, that's the reason. We have to go back to Bharata for everything and Sangeeta Ratnakara for everything. But if you actually read the Sangeeta Ratnakara, and I have not read it fully, but I've read it decently, I can tell you a lot of things mentioned that is irrelevant to the music we sing today. Bhatkande came searching all the way to South India, searching for authenticity of Indian music. He actually did, by the way. He came all the way to the South saying that they know all the Shastra. All the Gharana musicians sing what they want and say it's Shastra. So he came and searched for this. And luckily he didn't mess up Hindustani music so much. So you guys are a little lucky. He could have, but he didn't. But the point is that I don't think that's relevant. Even academically relevant, even musicologically relevant. It is relevant to understand the past. That's all.
My another point was like, how to define those Shrutis?
I mean, you don't define 22. I mean, the 22 you're saying is all frequencies now. If you want to define
No, I'm not telling that. Like, when we sing in Hindustani pattern, we do not define those certain notes. Like in Carnatic music, there are Antara, Gandharam.
No, you do also Tivra.
Yeah.
That's also different definition.
Yes, but we just touch it and go.
We also touch it and go when we want to. We decide when we want to give it a hug and a kiss and when we want to touch it and go. We're slightly more sexually flexible than you guys.
Yeah. But as in, you define it as with different names.
No, it's just nomenclature.
Okay.
We use different names, but you also define it. When you say Shuddh, and you say Tivra, you're defining
Tivra,
it.
yeah.
What you're saying is that you're marking a position.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's not music as yet. No. It's a marked position.
Yes.
I say Antara Gandhara. I say Shuddha Gandhara. I have marked more positions maybe than what you have marked, which is true. But that really is not so important. Okay. All I'm saying is don't get caught. We have also marked it, we are also marked it. Because we want structure. We want some reference. So we marked it. We've all marked it. And it's important to know the markings. Right? There is a difference in the way we have marked. Actually, if you look at treatises, by the way, if you go through the 500 years of what is known as the Mela music, which is whether it's North Indian treatise, South Indian treatise, every treatise has marked it differently, by the way. If you read Somanatha, he will give a different set of markings. If you read Chaturundi Prakashika, it's a different set of markings. So every musicologist has already interpreted the markings differently. Now we have come to some consensus of saying this is how it will be marked. Pa, ma, you will call it Tivra Madhyama, I will call it Prati Madhyama. And I also don't always sing it there. In fact, in Carnatic music, that ma is never sung there, very rarely. I always sing it as touching pa. Pa, ma is very rare. Ma. So by the way, I'm just touching it. Ma in Kalyani, if I sing Kalyani, which is close to Yaman, I'm not going to call Kalyani Yaman. Okay? Close to Yaman. Ta ra ra na Is it Nida Papa or Nida Pama? Ah, tell me the swara.
Nidapama.
I can say both.
Yes.
Ah, the moment you sing two pas, it may sound like ma. Nida Papa. Because your Anuswara is Nida Pamapa. Ah, 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 ah. I kept coming down. All these are shrutis? Yes. Every valuation is different? Yes. You heard Kalyani? Hopefully, yes.
Thank you.